We call it the order of the November 26th meeting of the Albany County Legislature Public Works Committee. Majority Council Cannon, would you please take the roll call?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Ricard,
Present.
Mayo,
Here.
Cleary,
Here.
Fine, Andrew Joyce and Reinhardt are excused. LaRilliard,
Here.
Bergdorf,
Here.
and Smith. You have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is to approve the previous month's minutes. Did everyone have a chance to read them?
Yes.
Someone like to make a motion on that? Mr. Fleury, do I have a second? Mr. Mayo, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries unanimously. I passed out a tentative agenda for this evening. We're gonna go obviously all over the place, so just put everybody together. So the first item on the agenda is the 22nd. Could you please read
Yes, item 22 is authorizing an agreement with Linkwell regarding the purchase and installation of electronic vehicle charging stations at Albany County facilities. Pat Curran is here this evening.
Good evening, everyone. So this request is for a contract authorization with Linkwell for the purchase and installation of electric vehicle charging stations at various locations at county facilities. So this was previously with Livingston, a company out of Schenectady. So the county has received $125,000 previously approved from NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities Program. The county received bids from 3 different electric vehicle charging station suppliers. Linkwell was chosen as the selected vendor due to its state Sourcewell contract. So they will be providing the charging stations as well as installation services, and the locations were chosen based off of biggest priority needs for various facilities around the county.
Thank you, sir. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Mr. Bergeron?
Pat, are these for county-owned vehicles or the public or both?
So for both. So they have to be open to the public based off of the Clean Energy Communities Program.
Okay.
However, we have been working within the county executive's office as well as DGS to kind of come up with a plan for public versus fleet parking. That's still in development, so we're going to be working on that to make sure that there is viable parking time for both public and fleet vehicles.
In terms of charging, is there going to be like a fleet credit card where if you're a county worker, you pop a fleet card in? And then
Yeah,
someone
so
like
for-
me, it's a credit card of some kind or
Yes,
an
so
app?
for fleet vehicles, that will be coming with the installation with Linkwell. So every fleet vehicle that we have will receive I believe it's referred to as a WEX card, for the purpose of being able for county employees to be able to charge based off of that card, so they don't have to use their own credit card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you determined what the cost for charging is for private
Yep,
vendors?
so we had just implemented a pricing plan with ChargePoint, our other vendor that we've previously used for charging stations. It was 25 cents per kilowatt hour. We had to briefly call that back just based off of there were some issues with some fleet vehicles being charged as well. So I'm working with ChargePoint currently to get that resolved. But it should be around the same 25 cents per kilowatt hour for public fleet charging.
Is that sort of I have no idea what if you go to the Colony Town Library or Bethlehem Town Hall, how that compares?
Yeah, it's fairly standard price. I think it's actually probably a little bit on the lower end compared to some private institutions. There is NYSERDA has a resource that we kind of use to determine the pricing plan. A lot of the prices in the area, it varies pretty greatly. It can go as low as 15, but some go all the way up to 50 cents per kilowatt hour. So we figured 25 was probably a good standard price.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Do any of the You're welcome. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Clary makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Mayo seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
I'm not sure. Is Bob Belver or someone? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Item 3 is authorizing a lease agreement with Broadview Federal Credit Union regarding suite number 7 at the MVP Arena.
How are you? We're looking to renew the lease of suite number 7 to Broadview Credit Union. It's a 2-year agreement. The annual cost is $51,000 per year.
Okay. Thank you. Do any legislators have any questions on this item? Mr. Bergeron?
Did Broadview and Sefview each have a separate suite, or
No, sir.
this is just a morphing of the two facilities
Correct.
into the existing suite?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Somebody like to make a question? Mr. Cleary makes motion, second by Mr. Mayo. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 4 is authorizing lease agreement with Toma Hospitality Group regarding restaurant space at the MVP Arena.
So this is a request as the current leasee of the space is unable to maintain their business, so Toma's looking to take over that lease essentially, or create their new lease and run their business through that space. For, the space is 950 square feet, it'll be rented at $19 per square foot.
Thank you. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Somebody like to make a motion on it? Ms. Laurelia makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Mayo seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item 15 is amending the 2024 Water Purification District budget regarding overtime for 2024. Commissioner, your Executive Director Gotti is here tonight.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
we're
Hello,
jumping
everybody.
all over.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is a budget amendment request to correct for overtime overages. We are requesting transferring $170,000 from various vacant salary lines to correct for overtime in both our 8120 collections group and in our 8130 treatment group. This is a budget neutral request.
Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Someone like to make a motion? Mr. Burdorf makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Cleary seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 16 is amending the 2024 Water Purification District budget regarding insurance reimbursements for emergency repairs.
Thank you. Yes, we received an insurance reimbursement for an emergency repair that we had done earlier this year. We're looking to move that from our unclassified revenue line to our equipment repair line to facilitate additional repairs that we need, that were basically used to do the emergency work earlier.
Thank you. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Somebody like to make a motion on it? Mr. Cleary makes a motion, second by Ms. Beauregard. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 21 is amending the 2024 Water Purification District budget regarding electric expenses.
This is a budget amendment request for the transfer of $65,000 to address a potential overage in our electric usage line. Right now, we're projecting to be short by about 2.5%, and this amount would cover the projected overage.
Thank you. Mr. Berger?
Angela, why would, what causes us to have a blip in our electrical usage? Or is it just the cost of the electricity in the same amount of
Combination of,
kilowatt hours?
it's a combination of cost and then usage. So again, if we have additional pumping, if we have more turbidity, our UV systems modulate based on turbidity of the water. So there's various reasons why we might have kind of, fluctuations in terms of our overall consumption. But I think right now it's probably just cost escalations that are kind of driving.
Now, the cost escalations, you buy your electricity by bulk, so that's predictable, right?
It is. We had done a floating load option when we did the last agreement though. So basically we locked in the transportation costs and then we were basically doing tranches or locking in kind of rates as they became kind of, an advantage to the county. So there was some variability early on kind of in those agreements as to what that actual rate was. So right now we're 100% locked in. And then we'll see what happens next year. So right now, our county electric contract is set to expire in June of next year. So we're looking at whether we want to renew that or whether we want to put that out to bid. So that's something we're working with. So there might be a variation in the cost.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do any of the legislators have a question on this item? Someone like to make a motion on it? Mr. Burdorf makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Mayo seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Item 5 is authorizing an agreement with DS Services of America, DBA Primo Water North America, for the purchase and delivery of bottled water and water cooler rentals at various county locations. Commissioner Latina, nope,
Pamela.
Pam Neal is here this evening.
Welcome.
Good evening. So we have an original contract with DS Waters, and it has a one-year option to renew. We would like to renew for an additional year at the same terms and conditions, and the rates will remain the same.
Thank you. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Someone like to make a motion on it? Mr. Curley makes a motion, second by Ms. Liliard. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And item 6 is authorizing an agreement with National Business Technologies regarding the lease and maintenance of 36 copiers for various county departments.
So we have 36 copiers that have a lease and they're due to expire. We issued a new bid. We received 2 responses. We're requesting to enter into a contract with National Business for 4 years. They're the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. They will be removing the old equipment and replacing with new equipment.
Okay. Mr. Berger?
Did National Business have the previous contract?
From 4 years ago, yes.
They did, okay, so they're swapping out their product and putting in new updated machines?
Yes. Yep,
Great, thank you.
thank you.
Is there any other questions on this item? Someone like to make a motion on it? Mr. Curley makes a motion, do I have a second? Mr. Bear seconds, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 17 is amending resolution number 520 for 2022 regarding electrical contracting services for the Capital District Juvenile Detention Facility. Commissioner Latina is here this evening.
Good evening, Chairman and legislators. I trying to give you some news here. What happened is when we put these RLAs in, the numbers for the contingency funding that was suggested were transposed on the spreadsheet that we got. So the first one, instead of being 58,000 for the electrical portion of it, 58,992 is actually for 207,247 on the electrical aspect of the contingency, additional contingency funding that we need for the CYDCI Center.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Someone like to take a motion on it? Mr. Curley makes a motion, do I have a second? Ms. Liliard at second, all those in favor? Opposed? Item carries unanimously. Please read the next item.
Item 18 is amending resolution number 521 for 2022 regarding plumbing contracting services for the Capital District Juvenile Detention Facility.
Again, this is for Desiree Mechanical. The original quote on here was 207,247. It's actually the contingency money that we're looking for this contract to carry us through the finish of the project is 82,433.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Berger?
I probably should have asked this before. You're telling me that the base contract was 202, and we need an $80,000 contingency, which
No,
is
the
40%?
base contract was $1.728 million, was the base contract. 1.7228,000.
Okay, one.
So that's, and then,
Like
what happened was,
1.8.
there was contingency money in all of these contracts. Due to OCFS, the Sheriff's Department code, as they're going through the projects and unforeseen stuff, they went through a lot of the original contingency that we have. We need to replenish the contingency to get us through the job. The job is still on track to finish in March of this year. We don't expect that we're going to go through a lot of this extra contingency money. We're 79 to 85% finished with this project right now.
I'm a little confused,
Okay.
because at first you said there was just a error in which numbers were transcribed
Yes.
wrong. And then you just said, as we were going through the project, we were expending the contingency and we have to add to it. So I guess I'm trying to understand, is this a clerical error?
It was
we fixing?
what happened was, it was a clerical, when we were sent the spreadsheet, each one of the contractors put in the extra, we put the extra contingency money that was needed for each contractor. What happened was, is in the spreadsheet, whoever put the spreadsheet transposed the numbers for Desiree, Campito, and DLC Electric. the numbers were switched around.
Yeah, so Paul, it was, the number that was in the resolution, or in the RLA for Di
Not the
Giussare
originals.
was actually the number for, or actually, I'm sorry, the number that was in the, was there actually the number for DCL? The number that was in there
Okay.
for,
So they were transposed by vendor, they weren't,
yes, they
it
all,
wasn't 78 became 87.
no,
That's- that's what I
it was just switched up by vendor.
Yeah, they were switched up in the spreadsheet
All
that
the
we,
numbers
that
are
we used
correct?
to put the RLA in.
Yeah. that's-
Yeah, all the numbers are correct, they were just, given to the
Okay.
wrong of the
So we
three
are-
vendors.
We are actually, our construction is pursuing within what the intentional contingency was? Or are we over budget?
Well, we're not over budget at this point. There is contingency money left right now, but it's becoming bare minimum right now. That's the contingency. To get us through to the end of the job for March, we need to carry that extra contingency to make sure that we finish the job. We don't expect that we're going to be using a lot of this contingency right now.
So how much of this is fixing it back the way it should have been, and how much is?
It's
new
not fixing it back the way it should have
Well-
been. What it is, it's actually, the original contingency that was put into these contracts was, let's say, on the Desiree, was $82,433 was original contingency on the $1.728 million. That was with the original contingency in there. We need to go back and add that contingency, more contingency into that of the same amount as $82,433 to carry us through the end of the project in March.
I'm still not getting it.
So each of the, for electrical, for mechanical, and for plumbing, they are all getting an additional
Contingency amount
contingency amount.
added to their contracts.
But the hiccup here is that the three contingency amounts were mixed up
Right?
in the
Yeah, I
RLAs.
got that.
So there are three separate amounts that are needed additional.
I'm assuming, well, that's what's not transparent here, is I assume there's a correctional portion of this resolution, which puts them back in alignment.
Yes,
The
we will
correct-
be,
The correct contingency
the
for every
resolution will
project.
be correct for each
What
item.
is the new amount added to each of the contracts in contingency, and what percentage does that take the contingency to?
The contingency, the new, it's if we go back to the Desiree Mechanical, we're adding $82,433 to the original contract of $1,728,100. So you're probably about 1.825 back into this contract. So this, in that 1.72, there was, I can't remember if it was 15 or 20% contingency into this, the original 1.7. Okay, which would be your 82,000, your original
And then
82,000.
so we're doubling the contingency.
We're going back and adding the contingency again into it so we can finish the project.
So the correct, or
So the correct,
we've used up virtually all the contingency, and we're putting in an extra,
you still have about 25% left in the contingency that we
Okay.
have, that the original contingency. But for me, in order, I have to carry this for the contract to be finished. You know,
okay,
either
so,
we use it or we don't use it.
so we adding in another 5% contingency, 10%?
We're going back to the original contingency that we added in the begin with, the $82,000 was
So
the
it was
original
either
contingency.
15 or 20% at that time,
Right.
Okay.
depending on the
I'll
contract.
take your word for it, but it sounds like to me, not only have we used our contingencies, but we are running well above what we.
No, this was
No.
always budgeted
Yeah,
for. This
we're not
contingency,
exceeding that original contingency, right?
no, we're not exceeding
Because
that
I think
original
you said about
contingency. We still have
15%.
money left in there. This is, you know, like I said, we're pretty much, we're between 79 and 85% done with this project. So we don't expect, hopefully, we may have to get through, use a little bit of this contingency with the general contractor. But I think we should be pretty good trying to get through with the original contingency. But we need this in order to carry it through the whole contract.
So you're
pretty
taking
much.
the money out of the original contingency? Is that what you're saying?
No, this is new, this has already been budgeted for the project. It's already in there as far as the bonding goes.
Okay,
Okay, through OCFS and all the other parties involved. This is just to get us through that March finish line, to make sure we have enough money, because if they come back to me and say in February, say if I blow through, let's say, the Desiree has $40,000 left in their contingency, and they come back to me and say, well, we found something, it's a $60,000 change order.
Yep.
The work stops,
I understand.
because I don't have that additional $20,000 in contingency money.
No, I understand.
Can I make a
And it
small
happens
point
all
to
the
just
time.
Maybe possibly help clarify a little?
Sure.
The
Please
commissioner
state your
said.
name though for the record. We all
Dave
know who
Riley,
you are, nobody else.
Commissioner Management Budget.
Public doesn't.
The commissioner kind of touched on this before, but I don't know if you guys picked up because it was in the middle of a sentence. This project is still below what was authorized in the financing authorization as well as the capital plan. This project is not over budget. The individual contracts need amended. You know,
Well, that's
it's
where I'm
it's the
going
shuffle
with
between the
this.
contracts to make sure
What
there's
I'm
enough for each
trying to
contract.
figure out, and it's not clear to me yet, but what I'd like you to do, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, is I'd like you to send to the committee something that says, here are the 4 contracts. This is what you approved. In that, each one of them had this much a contingency. The contracts, obviously, should have been finished with the existing contingency, if we set 15 or something together. If we're adding more contingency now, we are going above the original contract, which included a contingency, and we're adding more. So
You're correct, but we're not going over the budgeted amount.
I don't care what the budget is.
Yeah.
I worry about, we have contractors that signed performance agreements and put up payment bonds. And the moment we start adding 200,000, 300,000, and are blowing past our existing contingencies to the point where we can't even be assured that we're going to finish within the existing constituencies, I'd like to know what happened.
Well, the thing is that you're dealing with the sheriff's office, you're dealing with code enforcement, you're dealing with OC. If you look in the RLAs themselves, it'll show you where all the money is being spent and who requested the change orders to be made. As far as this is a very delicate, I want to say, project, because you have to meet certain standards between OCFS, the Sheriff's Department, code enforcement, when you're dealing with the youth facility up there and what things have to be done. If they come along and say you can't have that, as they look at it, then it kicks out a change order. In this packet, there is all the change orders to date in this packet. On each one of these packets, what was changed and what was requested.
I guess, as you know, change orders are either for field conditions, they're for errors and omissions, or they're for owner program changes.
Correct.
What has driven these contracts? Are you telling me that because we're confused between the sheriff's office and OCS, et cetera, that we can't bid a job and hold the contractor to it? There were mistakes? Or what is causing these to be so
Well, here's,
far
if you look onto the sheets, in the comments portion of the sheets, it gives you the comment, code security, field condition stormwater permit, design issue, field of condition, design issue, permit issue. Those are all listed on this sheet that we have in here.
Design issues, are you going back against the architect and engineer?
We could if you
Well, I
wanted
mean,
to, if you
you know,
wanted to go through errors and
just to
omissions,
follow
but,
up, and
but
I-
this is something that we just need to get this project finished first, and then that decision can be made
And I
later.
gave my colleague a lot of latitude in his comments,
I
but
appreciate it.
in my other occupation, I do a lot of contracts too, and change orders, to your point. And to Mr. Berdor's point, I think he does raise a valid concern. Are we gonna go after these contractors for unforeseen things, or maybe it was foreseen? I don't know.
Well, you
I
can't,
just
you
don't wanna
can't
go-
basically go after the contractor. If anything, you know, if OCFS comes in and say, well, one of them was the caulk that was used.
Sure.
OCFS came in and said, you can't use that caulk because it's not tick-proof caulk.
Fine, we'll take that as an example.
So that
Who
you
would
have
know
to
what
change.
caulk you're supposed to use? Who would
The
know that?
architecture.
The architecture
So
should
can we
know
go
that
after the
quote.
architect?
Yes, they should know that quote, because they were specifically chosen because of their experience with youth detention centers.
Right.
But
I
that
just
right
don't
now,
want, I just don't want the taxpayers to shoulder all this burden if it's not necessary, if there's somebody else which theoretically could be liable.
yeah,
I
I mean,
don't
it's,
know.
it's something that can be discussed later on, but in this project right now is to get this contract completed on time.
I agree with
Or you're gonna start going over the budget amount.
I totally agree with that, I understand, and the sense of urgency there.
I was never suggesting that we not do this.
Yep.
What I am suggesting is that I think this county needs to take a much more critical role in its supervision of construction projects.
Well, we have construction managers, there's a construction manager on the
Well,
project,
some-
and we have our own construction manager that works with them to go over every single change order that's done. That's where you get this list, and we decide, I mean, we've denied a few things too.
Okay, I
You know,
understand.
you know what I mean, it's not
It's not-
like we're just willy-nilly just signing our name to every change order.
It's not a matter of denying things. It's a question of assigning responsibility in the face of failure to either design correctly, determine field conditions correctly, or to remediate correctly. And we shouldn't be the blank check for that. And that's my concern.
Thank you. In the future, though, can you see if you can get recoup some of the taxpayers' money? If we're gonna-
We have before, I mean, we did it,
Can you
we
make
did
sure-
it, we did it at the MVP Arena project.
Okay, just,
When the,
I'd appreciate if you looked into, see if we can get
yeah,
some money
I mean, but
back.
that's something that, you know, has to be discussed with law and the county
Absolutely.
executive's floor. That's not
Absolutely.
something that DGS makes.
And I don't profess to be an attorney, but I
Yeah.
would like to see some.
I always wanna save the county money. I mean, that's, you know, that's one of my jobs is to, you know, get the best pricing that we possibly can.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, does somebody like to make a motion on this item? Mr. Clary makes a motion, do I have a second? Mr. Mayo seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The item carries unanimously. Next item, please.
Item 19 is amending resolution number 522 for 2022 regarding mechanical contracting services for the Capital District Juvenile Detention
Good,
Facility.
this is for Campito Plumbing, this is, needs the final change in the contingency money, it was originally put in there for $82,433. The contingency money looking for Campito Plumbing and Heating for mechanical work is an additional $58,092.
Thank you. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Someone like to make a motion on it? Mr. Berger takes a motion, do I have a second? Do I have a second? Mr. Literally, seconds, all those in favor? Opposed? Item carries unanimously.
Item 20 is amending resolution number 519 for 2022 regarding general contracting services for the Capital District Juvenile Detention Facility.
Yes, this is for bunk off general contractors or the general C on the project, the Capital District Juvenile Detention Facility. We're looking for an additional $319,961 in contingency.
Thank you. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Someone like to make a motion on it? Mr. Clay makes a motion, second by Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The item carries unanimously.
Okay, and then item 23 is authorizing a utility easement to Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation and Verizon New York regarding the installation of utilities on property located at 293 Lawson Lake Road in the town of Queens.
Yes, this is for the upper camp project at Lawson's Lake. We need to move a utility line pole. It's in the way of the foundation, new foundation that we put in. And we just need to change the easement for Niagara Mohawk to move the pole about 30 feet.
Sounds good. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Someone like to make a motion on it? Mr. Curtis, second Mr. Swift. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too. Item 2 is requesting the Department of Public Works to conduct a complete street study regarding the intersection of county municipal roads. Mr. Camisso's is here this evening, as is Commissioner Raimondo.
Welcome, Commissioner.
Commissioner, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Who would like to speak on this item number 2? Go ahead.
Should I speak on it?
Whatever, both of you.
Okay, the Department of Public Works is committing to use this money for a complete street study on certain corridors throughout the county that connect county roads to municipal roads. The corridors have not yet been identified, but we're going to work with CRTC and members of the Ledge to identify corridors that are priority. And we're going to research the corridors, see where there are gaps in pedestrian and bicycle facilities, and come up with a plan in a report format on how to best move forward with implementing some bicycle and ped facilities in those locations.
And I think if I could jump in quickly.
Please state your name
Yeah.
for the record.
Sorry, Cameron Sagan, Director of Policy. Based on the conversations I think we had at the last Public Works meetings, or one of them was, obviously this is sort of a very broad analysis. And the thought was to look at the heavily trafficked, pedestrian traffic areas, to sort of drill down a little bit. And of course, as Commissioner Raimundo said, we're happy to sort of work with the legislature on exactly what we're looking to do here. But I think we talked about looking at pedestrian traffic heavily areas, so, and we could defer to the legislature going forward on this.
Thank you, Cam. Does anybody have any other questions on this, or wanna have any questions? Mr. Berger?
We also talked, last time we talked about this, about going to the municipalities to get their input. I think unless we have an affirmative acquiescence from the local municipality, there should not be, because it connects with their streets, they have the traffic safety mechanism, et cetera. I wouldn't want one person in a town or city to say, I want this to be studied as a complete street, if the local municipality has no intention of that ever being a complete street. So the disconnect that I didn't hear tonight was how we filtered in input from local municipalities. We're gonna be guided by individual legislators. And I'm sure Frank is gonna do what he feels is appropriate in his neighborhood, in his area, and he's gonna communicate with the city, I would think.
We have done that for the past 40-plus
Right.
years.
But how are we doing that in my town?
Let's direct everything to the chair.
I'm
Commissioner,
sorry.
would-
Yes, I'm sorry.
Would you like to add anything?
Yeah. As I was pointing out, this has been ongoing for approximately 40-plus years, 40 that I know of. And I was told that prior to me, it was on the table. We can't continue to jeopardize the safety of the residents that live in that area. And I'm talking Russell Road, Berkshire Boulevard.
Right.
Russell Road goes to a public school. You see kids walking in the streets.
Frank, you're missing my, I agree with you 1,000% for your district, your
I
area.
am after the city to participate in this project. And until we at least take and see where we're at dollar-wise to get the study done, the city has verbally said they would participate in the doing of this project. They have had engineers look at it. Looking at it doesn't solve it. They have to come up with the solution.
Understand.
And I'm not against working with the city.
One second, do any of the legislators, I've given you a lot of comments on this, Mr. Berger.
Yeah, so, hi. So question on the funding that you're gonna be using. Is this through the CRTC that you're applying for the funding?
So,
The
no,
grant monies, okay.
so, no, isn't this about the $50,000?
Yeah, this
At the
resolution
legislature.
it has the money included, it's county dollars, yeah.
Okay. And would this be able to be parlayed for, further funding through like CRTC and other grant monies once, if we start this as like
It could,
a, okay.
yeah.
And municipalities could use the study
Right.
for their own
So,
purposes, yeah.
I'm very happy that you're doing this, that you're starting the conversation, about public safety on local roads. I think, your work would go a long way to either set a precedent, that particular municipality, and what they could be doing in the future. So I don't really see it as an issue of sign off from the municipality. I mean, obviously they should participate and give their input as far as accidents at those locations. We all have that information anyway. I know Colony just did an ADA compliance study in 2023 that didn't get a lot of public notice. So they have a survey of sidewalk areas and where, county and town roads intersect. So I would be in favor without a qualification that you need the municipality to sign on. I think just in general, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think more information is better, right? And getting their input can't hurt. I mean,
Right.
CRTC obviously is going to take in the input of municipalities as well. But it can't hurt for the county executive's office, DPW, to reach out to them directly and get their input.
Before I go back to Mr. Berger, does anybody else have any questions? Mr. Berger?
No, Frank, please, I probably used a bad example because I didn't understand your history with the city here and what it was. I'm more concerned about someone coming into my district and saying, we've got to reconfigure where Old Niskayuna and Shaker Road meet. Or we've got to do this at Osborne Road and New York Route 5 and Old Niskayuna. I want to make sure that before we go, the county goes down the path of potentially reconfiguring districts in my town, that at least they have consulted with the local government that has highway safety committees, traffic committees, et cetera, and are doing the analysis that Sue has talked about. And that's what I'm suggesting, is that we don't end up with a project that, just would not have.
It's not a
So
project. It wouldn't be a project, this would be a very high level look at corridors in the county. And if we were, we'll probably need to get bike and ped counts. Anything that we do within another, in the city's purview or a town's purview, we would have to have coordination with the town, and we wouldn't
That's
do
what
it
I'm gonna
unless
hear.
we
Okay.
had permission from the town. So
That's what
anything that we do on somebody else's property or jurisdiction, we would have many conversations with them to begin with. So I think the first step is trying to identify the corridors, and it's more or less going to be like recommendations, like here's where there's gaps, here's some low-hanging fruit that could be pursued with future grant funding or with a capital plan. But all of the locations for this money are going to be kind of a combined effort. It's gonna be county and municipality, so.
Yeah,
So-
we're inherently looking at where county roadways are sort of intersecting with the towns and municipalities.
All over
Yeah.
my area.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, and we did have this conversation, it's all kind of coming back to me now. I feel like we've all sort of been here before. But yeah, so it's sort of where there's the intersections where, and like Russell Road is a perfect example, where county roadways become municipal roadways. So there's a lot, there's like Commissioner Ramono said, it's inherently, we need to be communicating with our municipal partners on this, so.
Thank you.
And this will be a foundation for future work.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. Anything we can do to make it safe for the taxpayers and the citizens of Albany County, I think it's very important. In my home municipality, I can look out my street of my house and the sidewalk isn't there, it's grass, goes to a handicap area, believe it or not, and then it goes to grass again.
Yeah.
So, it's not a county road, but I get your point, and you're gonna consult with the county and the city or wherever, or I should say the city or the town, to help us out there. So I think it's a win-win. I like to move this. Would somebody like to make a motion on it? Makes a motion. Do I second that, Mr. Laverier? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The item carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, please.
Item 7 is authorizing the sale of surplus road millings at market rate.
Hi, yes, so we're requesting authorization to be able to sell surplus millings to all buyers at market rate. We currently anticipate having 28,000 tons of millings extra from what we're going to be using ourselves. And so it would be a great revenue generator for the county. at this time, we're requesting authorization to sell them.
I just think it's great, and I'll get you to it a little earlier, that you're trying to, generate some revenue, that's a great thing to see, so it is appreciated. Ms. Lurier,
Yes, hi, so I'm not sure if I missed this in the agenda. What is the price, is it, what's the market rate?
So the going market rate, it can range, $8 to $12 a ton is the market rate this year. We are suggesting that we reevaluate the market rate each year.
Okay, thank you.
any other, Mr. Berger?
Will we be posting the market rate and sticking to that, or are you looking for the leeway to have elastic rates between the 8 to 12?
That is a really good question, and I think there's gonna be leeway. We're still working with purchasing and law on the mechanism of how to sell them. Auctions International is one route, BidNet is another route. So obviously with Auctions International, you could, depending on what the demand is, it could be very low or very high. So if there's a way that we can advertise, say, 2,000 tons at $8 a ton and sell it that way, that would be our best bet. We looked to the town of Colony to see how much they're selling theirs for. We looked to other asphalt companies that do milling and find out how much they're selling theirs for, and then determine the market rate.
Well, the one thing, that sounds good, because the one thing you don't want to have happen is find yourself selling it to different people at different rates, and there be some concern about who got what rate.
Yeah.
So if there's transparency,
Mhm.
Real transparency, I think that's important.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item?
Just,
Mr. Mayo?
excuse my ignorance, but what do they use these for? What does the general public use it for, fill? Or
Oh, well, they could use it for fill. A lot of the towns need to have a certain percentage of recycled material in the asphalt that they put down. And so they'll actually purchase RAP, recycled asphalt product, to add to the asphalt that they lay down in their location.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
In my neck of the woods, nobody has paved driveways, they use them.
Do they? Yeah.
Did we-
Potholes and things like that
Yeah,
too?
it's next best.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item? Somebody like to make a motion on it?
Make a
Do
motion.
I have a second? So Lurier, seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries unanimously. Please read the next item.
Item 8 is authorizing an agreement with Tyler Technologies regarding the purchase of permit and work authorization tracking software and amending the 2024 Department of Public Works budget.
Hi, yes, so we're seeking a budget transfer from our salt line to our fees for services line, in an amount of $137,094. This money will be used to invest in software that will automate our hauling permit and highway work permit applications, as well as our citizens' request calls when they come in, and our planning board submissions. This will really streamline our billing process and our ability to keep track of things. So we're looking forward to getting this software.
Any questions on this item? Somebody like to make a motion on it? So Lurier makes a motion, second by Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries unanimously. Please read the next item.
Item 9 is authorizing an agreement with Creighton Manning Engineering regarding design and construction inspection services for the Alcove Road over Hannacroy Creek Bridge reconstruction project.
Yep. So we're requesting legislative approval to contract with Creighton Manning for design and construction inspection of the County Route 111 over the Hannacroy Bridge replacement project. We received 3 proposals for the project. Creighton Manning was the lowest proposal and had the best understanding of the project. This project is 100% county funded.
Thank you. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Make the motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Cleary seconds. All those in favor? Item carries unanimously.
Item 10 is authorizing an agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation regarding design and right-of-way management services for the South Albany Road Bridge replacement project.
Yes, so we're requesting approval of the state and local agreement regarding design and right-of-way services pertaining to our County Route 53 over Anesquithaw Creek Bridge replacement project. This project was awarded Bridge New York funding As such, it's 95% funded by the state and 5% funded by us.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do any of the legislators have any questions on this item? Does someone like to make a motion on it? Mr. Mayor makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Smith seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Item carries unanimously. Please read the next
Item 11 is authorizing an agreement with Prime Highway Contractors regarding construction services for the Coal Hill Road over Fox Creek Bridge replacement project.
Yep, so we are requesting the legislature's approval to enter into an agreement with Prime Highway Contractors LLC for construction of the County Route 2 over Fox Creek Bridge replacement project. We will be replacing the existing structures with a precast three-sided concrete structure with cast-in-place concrete footings and wing walls. There'll be additional roadway approach work and rail work included in the project.
Thank you, Commissioner. I figured you might have a comment. Do you have a comment, Mr.
Yeah,
Smith?
is the bridge gonna remain open, one side at a time, or close the whole road?
That is a good question. I don't know. I will get back to you on that.
It's a pretty major road, that's why I asked.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you had any questions. It's in your legislative district, so. Is there any other questions on this item? Do I have a motion? Mr. Smith makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Cleary seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Item carries unanimously.
Item 12 is authorizing an agreement with Greenman Peterson regarding design and right-of-way services for the South Albany Road over Onasquah Bridge replacement project.
Yep, so this is the same project that I previously spoke about with the state and local agreement. So we first have to make the agreement with the state, and now we would like to enter into an agreement with the consulting engineer, GPI, for the County Route 53 over the Onasquah Creek Bridge replacement project. 95% of their design and right-of-way fees will be paid for by the federal government, and 5% will be paid for by us.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just a quick question. It says evaluating best qualified. Obviously, I know what that means, but could you go into a little more depth with regard to that? Because this is 8 bids received and they were evaluated, so explain that more in depth.
Sure, so when we apply for a Bridge New York or Culvert New York project, rather than putting out an RFP, we do an RFI, and a request for information and qualifications, from all of the consultants that are on the LDSA list. An LDSA list is a list of consultants who have been pre-vetted that have the ability to see forth a federal or a state-funded project. So we solicit all of the consultants on that list, and they send us back a list of their qualifications, their track history with being awarded grants, and we go through their qualifications, and we decide based on qualifications who is presented the best and who has the best track record with delivering these projects.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Do any other legislators have any questions on this item? Do I have a motion? Mr. Mayor makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Cleary seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The item carries unanimously.
Item 13 is authorizing agreement with Robert H. Fink and Sons regarding the purchase of an excavator, and with Tracy Road Equipment regarding the purchase of 3 wheel loaders and amending the 2024 Department of Public Works budget.
Hi, yes, so we are requesting a budget amendment, decreasing our salt line and increasing our specialty equipment line in the amount of $587,000. With these monies, we are going to purchase 3 wheel loaders, a new one for Colony, Knox, and Bethlehem. We're going to be selling the existing loaders at auction, and we are also going to be purchasing 1 excavator.
Thank you. When do you legislators have any questions on this item?
Are we gonna have enough salt for the winter?
Oh, yes, we have plenty of, that's a good question, because obviously
We're
we
not
didn't
gonna
have a
need
big
it.
winter last year.
Yeah.
We're depleting our salt budget.
Here we are.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you. Somebody make the motion on this?
please.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? So we really are at seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? The item carries unanimously.
Item 14 is amending the 2024 Department of Public Works budget regarding the purchase of special equipment.
Yep, so we are requesting to take money from our road striping line, there's a surplus in that line right now, and use it to purchase 12 handheld radios for flagging during maintenance and protection of traffic, and 10 radios for the new trucks that we've been purchasing and our loaders, so that the folks can communicate, particularly in the areas where there's no cell service. The radios are an excellent purchase. We're also hoping to purchase survey equipment with $42,000 of this money, but we're not sure if we're going to be able to get the bids back in time. But we want to have the budget transfer done just in case we do.
So, do any legislators have any questions on that? Smith?
So we saved $100,000 by doing the striping ourselves.
More than that.
Did we help any other town or municipality stripe any of their roads?
So, no, not officially. So we said to everyone, not officially, I think by accident, no. But we said this year we just need to get our feet under ourselves and figure out how, can we get this done? If we have, we're gonna work with law and the legislature to come up with shared services agreements. So once we have that resolution in place, we can discuss with other municipalities if they need some road striping done.
Glad it worked out.
Yeah, it did. It worked out great. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember when we toured your facility and you were explaining that to us, and I think that's great that you saved that much money. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mr. Burghardt?
I was basically gonna ask the same question, how we doing with our
With our striping,
our striping program, but I guess the question is, and I don't remember, I should know, back in your Public Works budget, did you take money out for striping, did you leave money in?
that's
How
a
did
really
you-
good question.
How did you treat it for the future?
So, I did not remove any. That said, I figure, I don't think that prices are gonna escalate that much in the future, but I did not remove any.
So it's there and it
It's
could be
there.
utilized?
It could be used for extra equipment, like for example, next year, there's certain walk-behind paint striping equipment
Yeah.
that we need for like handwork and things, so we're gonna use it for that. We would also like to put out a contract for our roundabouts, use some of that extra money for doing the striping in our roundabouts, because it's very, it's a lot for our guys to do maintenance and protection of traffic in the roundabouts. We're thinking that we could use epoxy striping and have it hired out for just those locations. So that's where the surplus will be spent next year.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Somebody make a motion on this item? Mr. Smith makes a motion, second by Mr. Burghardt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
And it carries unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner. That concludes our business for this evening. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. There you go.